Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So I wanted to talk about recent events that took place in British Columbia, Canada. I wanted to talk about what we know about the story so far, what has come out, and the disturbing aspects about how the story is being reported by the mainstream media. So these tragic events took place at the Tumbler Ridge Secondary School, where 6 people were killed. Children lost their lives, and there was one school teacher. The suspect also turned the weapon on himself. And before he went on this shooting spree, he took the life of his own mother and his stepbrother.
They thought it was fireworks at first or something, and then someone came running down, hide, or something, and they all scurried and hid into these storage closets in the classroom, and then my youngest, she's homeschooled, but I believe it was 5 of her friends. They're the ones that got shot.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. Were they all together at the time?
Yep. Yeah, they were all in the library.
Oh my gosh.
So one of them, we're praying for her. She's in Vancouver at Children's Hospital. I believe she's the only one that's not presumed dead.
Oh.
She's in major surgery right now.
So your daughter lost 4 friends today, and maybe 5. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
Oh, how is she doing?
And she hasn't quite hit her yet.
Yeah.
She's 12. Of course, she wasn't there. She didn't see or experience it.
Yeah.
So I think it's a bit kind of like a movie right now.
Of course.
But I think once a couple days go by and people aren't there anymore, I think it's going to really...
Tumbler Ridge Secondary. You can see they're holding their hands up over their head, walking in single file. Seeing this earlier, some of them actually ran once they got clear of the building. But these shootings have left this small town, the latest census, about 2,400 people, shocked and reeling. Tumbler Ridge is about 600 miles north of Vancouver, to try to put it to some point that people might know more. Here in this town, everyone probably knows everyone here. At this high school, there were only about 160, 170 students. But police say they reached the school within 2 minutes of the first emergency call yesterday afternoon. Inside, they found victims in the halls and in the classrooms. And based on police reports, this is the breakdown. 6 were confirmed dead inside the school. 1 person died on the way to the hospital. And then at a home nearby, 2 more people were then found dead. And police believe that this home is linked to those attacks. Investigators say that the suspected shooter was a woman in a brown dress, found dead inside the school from what they call a self-inflicted injury.
And that's when the confusion began. I couldn't find anything about the suspect initially. I just assumed because they didn't know anything. But then people started saying on X that they're reporting it as a person in a dress. Sorry, a woman in a dress. And of course, red flags about the reporting became evident. And it was only on X that I found out that this was a male who was responsible for this heinous crime, a trans-identifying male. The mainstream media seemed to drag their feet in confirming that, and now they are telling the world that there is absolutely nothing a trans-identifying male can do that will cause them to not honor their pronouns. There's nothing they can do that will cause people to say, you know what, let's just call the person for who they are, a man who has gone and committed this heinous crime. They will attribute these crimes to women in the future when we look back and look at the statistics of those who commit mass shootings. It's not going to be accurate, I can tell you that right now. They're calling the suspect female, when accurate reporting is of the utmost importance. Then they don't even have enough sense to connect the dots. Maybe we shouldn't affirm people's delusions. Maybe we shouldn't tell people they're in the wrong bodies. CNN is referring to this person as a woman, Police identified the alleged shooter as Jessie Van Rootselaar, an 18-year-old Tumbler Ridge woman who they said had dropped out of school approximately 4 years ago. CNN are reporting this person as being a woman, not even trans woman. What happened to that? Affirming this person's gender identity and even elevating them to no longer having a gender identity but just being a woman, that seems to be the priority over accurate reporting.
We've heard all around the world reports coming out from different media, not local but world, and we've heard people from Tumbler Ridge, actually people that know the shooter, and they are all saying that this person is transgender. Why is the RCMP not speaking to this? Why are we hiding this from the public?
Well, first off, thank you for your question. We're not hiding it. In fact, you're the first media to ask the question. I will say this. We identified the suspect as they chose to be identified in public and in social media. I can say that Jessie was born as a biological male who approximately, the information that I have, approximately 6 years ago began to transition to female and identified as female both socially and publicly.
Unfortunately, we've heard a lot of transgender as masculine shooting. Do you think there's a correlation here?
It's too early to say whether that has any correlation in this investigation. I think it's important to recognize that this investigation is still in its infancy. We have scenes still lock down the school and the residence while we execute search warrants and gather further evidence and talk to witnesses that may have further evidence for police.
And that CNN article was updated 49 minutes ago, so they're still insisting on referring to this person as a woman, not even as a trans woman. You can't transition from male to female. Why not describe the person accurately? You would think something like this will get people to question whether it's a good idea to tell children they're in the wrong body, whether it helps with their mental health. You would think it would get people to look at the evidence, whether we should be giving people cross-sex hormones. How does that affect them mentally? Maybe people should be asking these questions rather than worrying about respecting somebody's pronouns. There's nothing wrong or offensive in reporting accurately. In fact, obviously, it's offensive to report in a manner that doesn't reflect reality. The suspect is an 18-year-old man. That is a fact. The suspect is not a woman and should not be reported as being a woman. That is highly offensive, especially to those who do not buy into this ideology, some of whom may be the families of the victims. What about their needs right now? They're the ones dealing with the aftermath. But reporters and police commissioners are more concerned about pronouns, about inaccurate pronouns. It's the victims who should be the priority, not the violent perpetrator who heinously took people's lives, who showed no compassion for the innocent children who are simply going to school, who showed no compassion for their teacher and for his own family members. This is making a mockery of this tragedy. It really is. Of course, people are going to bring up the gun debate, especially as this happened in Canada, where they have strict gun laws. How did this person even get hold of a firearm? But then we're going to have people say that we should be discussing the mental health crisis that we're seeing with our youth. And a big part of that is this social contagion that has taken off with young people, where they're now identifying as the opposite sex, where they're now claiming that they feel they've been born in the wrong body. And that's being affirmed and encouraged by adults, by doctors even. Maybe we should be having a discussion about that rather than being intent and prioritizing pronouns and whether one is misgendering or not. One of the most basic descriptions is whether one is male or female. We should at least be able to establish that. And if people can't even do that, how do they expect people to trust the information that they're relaying to us? How do they expect to be taken seriously?
Well, anybody that's referring to this as a female or a gun person or a person in a dress is beclowning themselves publicly and showing themselves to be completely ideologically captured and on the wrong side of this. Because at the heart of what this actually is an absolutely predictable act of trans madness. That's what happened here. Like, are none of the people that are begging for thoughts and prayers going to ask the question, what could have possibly radicalized this person?
Yep.
What could have possibly radicalized this person? Nobody's gonna talk about that yet. Are we ready to talk about that yet, Canada? Because it took a tragedy to acknowledge the truth in this matter. People have been. This is what we get for protecting transgenderism in our human rights codes. This is what we get for silencing gender critics who said that all of the warning flags are there. This is going to end in disaster. So after destroying families for 10 years, this is what we've got.
We had the Toronto Star reporting the following. Police identify 18-year-old female Jessie Ran Rutzela as Tumbler Ridge school shooter. Jennifer rightly wrote, "We track this or we community note it. We aren't putting up with this anymore. Not kidding. This is what led to this. This is what's demeaning people. How dare you do this on this day?" Because respecting a mass murderer's pronouns is what matters here. Not to mention how your data registers this person as a woman and he's a man. Megan Kelly wrote, "Canada is lost." Someone responded, "Canada is lost because we had one mass shooting? It's a tragedy that rarely happens. You had 500 mass shootings last year, so you should probably sit this one out." PDF file lover. Wow. No, dumbass. Canada is lost because it has more empathy for the shooter's pronouns than for the victims to know the truth. That's why Canada is lost. Hope this helps. And obviously we're talking about the politicians, the people in authority that is pushing this down people's throats, that is forcing people, by law even, to go along with this. So my heart goes out to the people of Canada. We're thinking about you. We're praying for you here. And unfortunately, I was thinking that at least lessons will be learned from this tragedy. But as of now, that's not what I'm seeing. And I pray that that changes, because we don't want this to continue to happen. And unfortunately, police commissioners, journalists, those who compile our statistics, they are all too willing to lie. So let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Please take care of yourselves. And God willing, I will see you in the next video.